web app using JavaScript. So I've heard that CSS. So basically what we're going to do today is that we are going to build a memory game on the theme of Mario using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in order to create some interaction to our game. So first things first, I'm working on an IDE called IntelliJ. So the only thing I did before is that I downloaded some cool features to have a Mario theme. So I have fonts, just downloaded them from Google Fonts, images that are Mario oriented, Google Images, and audio, but I'm not sure we're going to use it. So like I said, you need an HTML file, a CSS, and a JavaScript. So let's start by creating. Do you guys all hear me? I just want to make sure that you all hear me before we continue. Yes? Perfect. Okay. So let's start by creating an HTML file that will host our game. So I'm going to call it memory game because we're going to build a memory game today. Then what I want to do, so I'm going to give it the title memory game. What I want to do is I want to be able to add some styling to it and not have like a simple hello world. You guys had already an HTML and CSS. I just want to show you like here inside my HTML, if I write hello world, I then browse it inside my browser, it will show me hello world. But I can add CSS to it. I'm going to create a CSS folder. And inside of it, I'm going to create a CSS file to change the color of my hello world, for instance. So first things first, I need to connect my CSS to my HTML so he knows how to connect them. So here, for instance, if I write body, which means every single thing that's written in my body, do color red. If I refresh my page, nothing is going to happen. Why? Because I didn't connect my CSS to my HTML. So first things first, I'm going to connect it. The way we connect it is that we add a tag called link where we reference our CSS. So as you can see, when I start writing href, I have all my folders and I can just select the one I need to use. Do you guys see my screen? I just want to make sure that you do. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen and the screen sharing is working? Yes? Perfect. Amazing. Because I don't want to just be... Okay. And now inside my CSS, I'm looking for my file, which is memorygames.css. Then I'm just adding the type of it. So it's of type text CSS. And I'm going to add the tag rel to say that it's a style sheet. And I can close my link. Now, if I refresh my page, it's red. So I heard that you guys learned that. That's the connection between HTML and CSS. I just wanted to do a small refresh on that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a little bit more complex. I'm going to make sure that inside my body, everything that's inside my body doesn't have the color. That's not really interesting. What I do want, however, is a cool background because, like I said, we're going to create a Mario theme. So here, I downloaded pictures. I showed you some of them. I'm just going to create a background for my whole body. So I'm going to add the URL for the background. I need to go inside my image file. And inside my image file, it's my image that's called bg.jpg. Then what I want for this image is I want it to be centered, and I don't want it to be repeated. So now let's refresh, and boom. I have a cool Mario image as my background image. What I also want, or I can also make it a little better by adding a cool feature that's called background size cover. So if I refresh now, you will see that we'll a little bit reposition it and make it look better. So don't worry, I'm going to get rid of my hello world. It was just here for the test. So I also want to push my Mario theme a little bit further. I downloaded a Mario font. So what I need to do is that I need to add this font to my CSS option by using this tag called add font base. I can choose the name that I want to call my font family. Here I want to call it Mario, and then I need to tell its source. Again, I simply downloaded it. So it's inside my folder font, and it's one of those. It's actually Super Mario 256. Just went on Google Fonts and downloaded it. So I'm putting my URL. This time I'm going inside the fonts folder, and I want my Mario 256.ttf. Now I want to apply that to my whole body, which means to every single thing that will be inside my HTML, no exceptions. That's it. And now if I refresh, my hello world is in a different writing. Now hello world does not bring me anything especially. So what I do want is I want to say to our memory game, something like that. What also I want is I want to be able to center that specific title. Not every single thing in my body, but something that's specific, that title. So what I need to do is instead of just having it like that in my body, I need to have it inside divs. Divs are basically like containers. So what I can have is that I can have a big div, let's say, that will host my whole game. Then what I'm going to have, this div, for instance, I can call it game board because it's going to host my game. I'm going to give it an ID. An ID is personal. A class is something that is not personal. I can give it to a new element, which allows me to apply the same CSS to all of those elements. When I give an ID to an element, an ID is unique, so I can have a specific CSS for a specific element. So I will also give an ID to my title, which will be title, as I have no specific imagination or anything else. And that's it. I will put that inside this div. So now here, because I have a div with the ID title, I can now refer to it like that with an asterisk. ID instead of the ID, the class title, sorry, instead of the ID title, and I would refer to it like this with a dot. Again, the reason why I'm preferring to use an ID here is that I want those changes to be unique to the title, and I don't want to have other elements that will have the same changes, so I'm using an ID. So here, it's not centered, it's not really nice, so let's do that. Let's center it. Let's also push it a little bit from the top. by adding a margin top. Let's make it also bigger by changing its font size. And display block. Let's see how it changes. Any questions from that point? Because now we're going to go and dig inside the JavaScript and how it works. Any questions? No. Okay. So let's look into JavaScript and add JavaScript. So you saw here how I prepared the field with a very, very simple basic HTML, CSS. I linked my CSS to my HTML, which allowed me to style my HTML. Now what I want to do is I want to create my application. So first things first, I need to think, how is it going to work? So what I want is to build here a memory game. What is a memory game? It's simply a game where I have a few cards, and whenever I'm going to click on a card, I'm going to need to click on a second one. Then it's going to check, are those two cards the same? If yes, then I have a point. If they are not the same, it will allow me to see those cards for like a second or two. I can choose that. I will show you how to do that. And then it will return the cards back because they're not the same. The game also needs to keep track of how many cards I found correctly in order to know if I won or lost. Here, in order to be as simple as possible, I'm going to choose to work with 12 cards. So I'm going to choose to create 3 rows of 4 cards each. I could, if I wanted to, render them and create them on my HTML. Here, the purpose is to show you how JavaScript works. I can also render those cards on JavaScript. And that is exactly what I'm intending to do. I will basically render 12 cards with a JavaScript function. I will then randomize pictures for every single game. It will be new pictures to each card. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another function that will basically be the game application. Whenever I will click on a card, it will need to keep track. Is it the first card I'm clicking on, or is it the second card I'm clicking on? If it is the first card I'm clicking on, it will save it as the first card. Then it will click on another one. It will now know that it's my second card. So it will know that because I have 2 cards that I clicked on, it will compare, are they equal? If they are, then I have a point. If they are not, it will show back the back of the card. After 1 or 2 seconds, it's my choice. Is everybody fine with the logic of the game, or do you want me to repeat it? Perfect. So let's dig into it. Okay. So first, when I create a JavaScript, the first things first, the same way I added the tag for the CSS, I need to add the tag for my JavaScript. I like to add it at the end of the body. The reason why I add it at the end of the body is because sometimes you will need to use, as you can see, I will need to refer to divs and elements that are in, and I want to make sure that my HTML is loaded. So when I use my JavaScript and I refer to those elements, it knows what those elements is. If I don't put the tag in the right place, it may have errors and say that I'm referring to elements that it doesn't know yet who they are because my HTML is not loaded. So in order to add my JS, I need to add a tag of TypeScript. Again, I need to say the source. So here, I didn't create a JS folder yet, sorry. So first of all, JS folder, and inside my JS folder, JavaScript file. Memory game. Okay. So now let's link it. Okay, it's linked. I can start. So, how am I going to start my JavaScript? First things first, we set it, okay? We need to create two main functions. One that will render my cards, and then one that will have the logic of the game. We will have other sub-functions, but when we get there, we'll talk about them. First of all, what I want to do is I want to create a namespace. What is a namespace? A namespace is simply an empty object. Why do I do that? Usually when you create an app, it's for a company. Apps, most of them will have functions that will have the same name, like start or reload or generate. And in a company, you will sometimes have different applications with different JavaScript that will be linked potentially to the same HTML with the same function names. So when you have a namespace, it allows you to add those functions to this specific namespace, and like that, be more precise. Your function will not be start anymore. It will be memorygame.start. So if I have another game that is linked to my HTML but through another JS file, except the start function is the start function of the game, I don't know, Mario Land, then it would be marioland.start. And my HTML would not be confused. Nothing would be confused because everything is inside the namespace. That's why it's always good to have a namespace. So, first function I want to create is a function that's called generate board, where I will generate my cards. So because I created a namespace, from now on, every single variable and function that I'm creating will start with memory game dot. So I'm creating a function, and I don't want any input to this function. So here, inside function, my input field is empty. I don't need any input. So what I want to do is I want to generate the cards, but I want to generate them and put them inside this div that has the ID game board. So first things first, I need to go and grab this div. I'm going to call it game board, and I'm using the DOM to access this. So in the DOM, I can use the function document.getElementById and refer to the ID of an element, here game board, which tells him to go and grab that div. Okay, that's done. Now what I want to do, I want to loop and create 3 rows of 4 cards. That's what we said. So first of all, I'm going to create those. So I'm going to use the DOM again and create, this time by using document create element. And I'm telling him what type of element I want to create. I want to create a div. Then what I want to do is give it a class name. It's going to be row. So that here is creating 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay? Now inside of all of these rows, I want each row to have 4 cards. So I need inside of each row to loop again. J, sorry. I want 4 cards. And this time, I'm also going to use the DOM to create a div. So this time it's going to have the class name card. Here I also need to give to my cards an ID, something that will identify them each differently. Why? Because afterwards I want to attribute a picture to every single card and a different picture to every single card. So the best way for me to do that is I'm going to use an array. An array is basically like a memory space where I can refer to every single element of this memory space by its index. So if I have an array of 12, I can refer to, it's like basically having 12 memory spots, and then I will be able to refer to every single element that I put in those memory spots by their index. So I can say, grab me the element that's inside the memory spot 11. Go and grab me the element that's inside memory spot 2. And I want to link that to my card because I have 12 cards. So I will want to create an array of 12 memory spots that will all have pictures and connect them to my card. Like this, I will be able to say, for the card that has the ID number 1, please put in underneath it, or its face will be the image that's inside my memory spot number 1. So like that, I'm linking it. In order to do that, I need an ID for every single of my cards that goes from 0 to 11. And magically, because my I goes from 0 to 3 and my J from 0 to 4, I can simply say that I want the ID to be equal to 3 times J plus E. And that's that. So those are my cards. So I want them all to have the same background image. So I'm going to refer to my, again, the images I downloaded. Okay, that's for the background image. And then what I want to do is I want to put those cards inside my row. So I need to use something that's called append. Append is a function that tells my elements where to go. When I'm doing row.append shall call is a variable that refers to my card, it says put my card inside my row. Then here, I need to append my rows to my game board. And lastly, what I need to do is I need to append my game board to my document. Okay, let's see. So, one second. Let's just double check that the JS is linked like it should. Oh, I didn't tell him to run. And I need to add a function that's called document memorygame.start and do it on window load. So basically what I'm doing in here by doing our game.start, I'm creating a function and I'm telling him that function, you do it, I will tell him to do it when the page is loaded. I'll show you in a second. So what I want to happen first is I want him to generate board, because I created the function, but I didn't call it. So here I'm calling the function that I created. And then inside my HTML, I need to call memory game.start. So what I'm going to do is that here inside my body tag, I'm going to put on load. Please do memory game dot start. Okay. Now you see that you have your divs here. Purposefully, they're not appearing yet on the HTML because I haven't added a CSS to my card yet. So I wanted to show you that. I wanted to show you that my elements exist. I do have 3 rows, okay? And each row does have 4 cards in it, but I don't see them. The reason why I don't see them again is because I didn't add a CSS to it. So I'm just going to add a CSS to it, and then I will check with you guys if you have any questions. So remember how I gave all my cards the class card? That allows me in CSS to use .card to refer to every single card, because they all have the same class name. So I'm going to add them a width, and I'm going to add them a height. And I'm also going to put a margin in between them. I'm going to add them a border also. And that's again to make sure that the picture looks good. Okay. Now again, you're going to see something that happens. You're going to see the card one after the other. It's on purpose. Okay. Divs are block elements. Okay, which means that they are one after the other. They are blocks, one after the other. What I want here is that I want all my cards to be on the same line. So the way I can do that is that I can change the display, the default display of divs, which is block, to something that's called inline block. And that's it. It magically allows me to have them on the same line. It's not magic, it's actually CSS, sorry. So, do we have any questions from until now? Appending is, there is something that is called a DOM. And the DOM is like a virtual environment. You can create, okay, so let me just answer the appending and then I'll do the inline thing. There is something called a DOM. The DOM is a virtual environment. It's like a virtual HTML. You can basically create, like you saw, elements through the DOM. You can also refer and grab elements that exist in your HTML through the DOM. So I created elements inside my DOM, which means that they exist inside this virtual environment. But I'm not going to see them inside my HTML until I append those elements to my HTML, which means I'm telling those elements, go inside my HTML. The thing is, only at the end did I append it to my HTML when I did document.body append child, and I gave it the name of game board, which was my whole container. Why? Because when using the DOM, what you need to do is when you have a hierarchy of elements, which I have here, I have a row and cards inside my row. I first need to append my cards inside my row, which means telling my cards go virtually inside my row. Then all those rows, I need to append them where I want to put it, because here I wanted to put them inside my game board. And then once that is done, I can append it to my body and it will appear in my HTML. If I take the last part out, then I wouldn't see it inside my HTML. Why did that inline just change? Okay, so again, divs are block elements. They're display block. You can change the default display of an element to something else. A div can be changed to inline block. When you change it to inline block, it means put those blocks in the same line. I did that to my class cards, and my cards are inside the row, which means that it's basically telling him the 4 cards that are inside my rows, make them inline on the same line for 1 row. Okay? Any other questions? Put them on the same line inside the row. Any other questions before we continue? The inline table option, we didn't use that. Inline table. You mean inline block? Okay, yeah, there are other options like inline flex and inline table. On block elements, you don't use inline table, you use inline block to make them inline. It's for table elements. Tables, UL, the lines are usually also not on the same line, so inline table would then refer to that in this specific case. Okay, welcome, Gina. Any other question, or can we go on with the second function? Just before we go on, I hate the fact that it's not centered, so excuse me, I'm just going to center the whole board because I'm kind of OCD like that. You see how our whole board is not centered and it's too close to the title. So they're all inside. You can see it here. I'll show you here. Okay. So they're all inside my div that has the ID game board. So again, in my CS, I can refer to it as ID game board. And I'm just gonna add a little margin top and text align. There we go. Okay, let's go on. No other questions? Can I go on with the second part of our game? So now we have our cards. They don't actually do anything, and we didn't put any pictures behind those cards. So I spoke a little bit about an array. An array is basically a memory space. Here I have 12 cards. So in an ideal world, what I want is 12 images to go behind those 12 cards. But I don't need 12 different images. I only need 6 different images because it's a memory game, and I need to make sure that I have twice every single image. What I'm going to do is, remember how I gave to every single of my card, not only the class card, but also the ID here, a unique ID. Remember how I did that? So I want to show you here that they all have a unique ID. Here, when I inspect, I can see that they all have the class card, but one has ID 0, then I have ID 3, 6, 9, blah, blah, blah. And then I would have the next one is 1, 4, 7, 10. And then the last one, 2, 5, 8, 11. So they all have a class call, but they also all have an ID that's unique, and that's between 0 and 11. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to create an array that will have 6 pictures. I'm going to double that array because I could also create an array of 12 pictures, 12 URLs of pictures, and basically repeat twice each picture, but I don't like to write so much, so I'm just going to use a function to double it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the internet and just search for a function that shuffles the array, which means that if I add in my memory game.start, and every single time when the game starts, I shuffle my array, my images will never be at the same position in my array. If at one game I will have in position 1 image number 4, and at the other game, for another game, I will have in position 1 image number 6 or 7, which will allow my user to have a different game every single time he opens. So what we're going to do right now is that we're going to create this array, double it, and shuffle it. So let's start. Again, using my namespace. I am just simply referring to images that I downloaded. I just call them 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 dot JPEG, just to make my life easier because I don't like to write too much. So then I have 6 different images that I need. That's it. I have my array of my 6 images. Okay, now, like we said, we need to double it. So I'm going to create a function that's called double. It will have an input this time, and as an input, it needs an array. So I'm going to use the keyword R that refers to an array, and then when I will call it, when I will use my function memorygame.double, I will use it on my array memorygame.array. So what am I doing here? I'm creating a new array that's blank at the beginning, and then I'm looping through every single element of the array I'm receiving as an input. And I'm pushing it twice. I'm going to push the elements twice. So the function push, when applied on an array, what it does is it adds the element at the end of the array. So because result is here an empty array, I'm pushing every time at the end of result the element I of the array has an input, but I'm going to need to do it twice because the whole purpose here is to go from an array of 6 to an array of. Then what I'm going to return is result, my new array. That is basically the previous one times 2. Here in my start function, because I want that to happen at the beginning, I'm going to also call, after I generated my board, memorygame.double, and who is going to be my input? memorygame.array. So I doubled my array here, but I don't want it to always be the same, like I said. I want to be able to shuffle it. I want to be able to randomize whatever is inside my array. So where do I want to copy the array? Exactly. I could have made an array of 12. Oh, Shayna answered Miriam. So again, Miriam, I could have made an array of 12. I'm just lazy. I wanted to show you a cool feature of arrays that's push. So for those two reasons, I decided to create an array of 6 and just use a double function to push them twice. But I could have totally created an array of 12. So in order to shuffle, it's those functions that are mathematical, and I don't necessarily love to do it. So I'm just going to do array shuffle JavaScript and take a pen. And also a good way to show you how we coders like to check a lot of things on Stack Overflow and find answers. So there you go. Usually go to Google, you search, and when you see that V, it means that you have a winner. The only thing here is that I want to use my namespace. And then now that it's shuffled, I want to return the array. So here inside memorygame.start, I'm also going to call my function shuffle. But wait a second, with what this time? I need to be careful because the truth is here I don't just want to call it. I also want to change memorygame.array. So memorygame.array now becomes my array that's doubled. And once it's doubled, oh, sorry, I put it out by mistake. Once it's doubled, it now becomes the shuffled one. Everybody clear on what we just did here? Perfect. Now let's go over the big function, the one that has the whole logic of our application. So we have our cards, we have our array, but they're not linked yet. So what we need to do is that we need to make sure that we attribute a card to a picture, basically, to a card. So also, we need to create the whole game logic. So again, what is our game logic? We have a card. We're going to click on it. When we click on it, we're going to show its picture. So now it's going to be easy because my card has an ID that's unique. And my array, which is basically, again, something that saves space. Also, for every single game, at spot 1, for instance, we'll have a different image. So let's say I click on card that has the ID number 1. I can show the picture that is in index number 1. That's how I make the link. Then I need to know and save the fact that that's card number 1. And I need to know that that's the first card I clicked on. Then I want to click on a second card. I want to make sure that he now knows it's the second card I got. Let's say the second card I clicked on was card number 6. Card number 6 will show me image that's in spot number 6 of my array, which is fine because thanks to my shuffle, I will always have a different card. So then, once that is done, I'm saving card number 2 as that card, and I want to compare them. Are card number 1 and card number 2 equal? If they are, I have a point. If they are not, I want to show them to my user for a couple of seconds, and then I want to show the back of the cards again. Is that clear? That's our big function that we're going to create right now. Okay, let's start. So first things first, we said that we're going to need to keep track of card 1 and card 2. I'm going to create variables for that. I also want to keep track of which card was clicked. At the beginning, I don't have any, so it starts at 0. Okay, so I'm going to call it memory game show card, let's say. What's important here, I also want to teach you something new. Okay. Here, this is a function that I want to work whenever I click on a card. Click is what we call event. In order to be able to do that, I need to add what we call an event listener. Basically, I need to add to every single one of my cards an event listener that will say, whenever I click on the card, please do the function show card. So here, where I create my cards, I'm just going to add an event listener. And my event is click. And whenever I click, I want to do the function memory game dot show card. So for him, he now knows that every time I click on a card, I will do the function show card. Because I added this event listener, I can now have something called event as the input of my function. What does that mean? That means that when I'm going to refer to event.target, it means the card I clicked on. Event.target is the card I clicked on. And all of that is possible thanks to my event listener. So here, first things first, I'm putting the card I clicked on inside the variable. So event.target is the card I clicked on. Then I'm going to go and grab its ID. Okay, now I want to show the image that's behind it. And the image that's behind it, is the one that inside my array is at index, that is the same index my card ID. So I can use that now because I created my array. So why do you have a plus sign before the namespace? Where do you see a plus sign before the namespace? Oh, here, memory game.array refers to my array. I have the plus sign because I'm concatenating. I'm recreating a URL, and I'm replacing inside my URL, I'm putting in a variable as my URL. So I need to concatenate it. Here, if you had a memory game dot array card ID will return image 1 or image 2 or image 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And then it will concatenate it all together and will look exactly like this. Okay? Okay, cool. So here, you see, now when I click on the picture, I can see the image. That's all I can see right now. What I do want to show you, I didn't import my logic yet. We just decided that when we click, we're showing the picture right now. But I want to show you that if I reload, and I have other pictures, and every time I reload, that's thanks to my shuffle. I have another picture for every single card. Is it clear how we have that? That's thanks to my shuffling. Because I'm shuffling my array, every time in position 1, I have a different image. So here, when I say when you click on the element that has the ID number 0, please show me the image that's inside my array in position 0. Because that array is being shuffled all the time, it will always show a different image. And like that, my user will never have the same. Like, it can happen sometimes, but thanks to the magic of randomizing, it will always be different, a different game and a new game. Clear for everybody? So we can continue with the logic. How does it know to have two sides? It's not that it knows to have two sides. By default, inside our generate board, what we're generating and what we're giving it is this image. Okay? They all have this image. But then here in my function, show card, I'm saying whenever I click on the card, then show me the image that corresponds to this card in my array. So if I click on card that has ID number 1, please show me the image that's inside your array number 1. A hyperlink. It's not really a hyperlink. It's changing the URL of the image. It's changing its URL. That's what it's doing. By default, you have the URL of the background, and when you're clicking on it, you're changing the URL. You can see, for instance, that right now, I haven't done anything to change it back to how it was. So it's going to stay like that. And it's going to stay like that until I implement a logic that tells him to go back. Or until I reload the page. Yes, it replaces the image. But I'm going to add more features to tell him exactly when do I leave the image like that and when do I bring it back to the background. I see someone typing a question. Does target always refer to the object that has an event happening? When you have an event listener, event.target is refer to where that event happened, to the element where that event happened. Yes. Here it's my card, because I added my event listener on every single card. So when I clicked on my card, event.target refers to that element that was clicked on. Any other questions? No, I don't see anything being written, so I'm moving on. Okay. So where's my show card? Here. So right now what I have is that every time I click, I'm seeing the card. But what I want to do now is do my whole logic. So first things first, I want to know, is this the first card I clicked on? So at the beginning of the page, I created a variable called memorygame.clickCard. It starts at 0. I'm just telling him if memorygame.clickCard equals 0, which means I have not clicked on the card yet, then card 1 is the card I just clicked on, and no that I now have a card that I clicked on. So change the value of memory gain click card to 1. Okay? Else, so I'm not in the case where memory gain click card equals 0. So I'm not in the case where I have no cards that were clicked and that's my first card. I'm in the case where I now have 2 cards that are clicked. So now it's card 2 that is equal to card. And now I saved both card 1 and card 2, and I can now compare them. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to check if card 1 dot style dot background image equals to the same thing but card 2. So if the images are the same, then I need to keep track of the fact that I found a good match. So I'm going to create another variable that starts at 0 and that will keep track of the matches. So they're equal. I have a point, and don't forget to tell him that I now want to go back to the fact that I have no cards clicked on. So it's now equal to 0 again. Otherwise, so I'm in the case where I start by asking, is this the first card? Yes. So I'm saving card 1 as this card. And I now want to keep track that I already clicked on the card. So the next time I will click, I will be in this case. I will be in the case that I now have one card that I'm seeing, and I've just clicked on the second one. So I'm saving my card that I clicked on as the second card. I'm seeing 2 cards. I want to check are they equal. If they are equal, then I want to keep showing them forever because equal and he found them and it's a match. I want to have a point, but I want him to know that the next card that he will click on, he will be back to 0. He will need again to select a couple of cards. Now, what happens if they're not equal? So else, if they're not equal, what I want to do is I want to change the background back to what it was. I want to change the background to the back of the card, so change the URL of the image of both of them. And I also don't want to forget that next card he's going to click on, I want him to know that he's starting over. Here, what's important is I don't want that to happen super fast. I want him to be able to see my cards before the background changes back again. So I'm going to use a special function that is called setTimeout function. So what can happen is that all of that I can put inside a setTimeout function. All of that. And then I can tell him, please do that. Only after 2 seconds. So set timeout function works in milliseconds. So I'm telling him, please do that after 2000 milliseconds, which is basically seconds. So let's see how this works. It's not turning that one back. Let's see why. Oh, yeah, sorry. Here, we want to say cartoon. Let's try to find a match. Does anybody remember where I can find a match? No. No. I think this one. No, I was expecting something else. Sorry. Yes, I find a match. See, when there's a match, he's not turning them back. But if it's not a match, he is. So we're not completely done yet, but I want to check if you have any other question. What if you were to click on another call before the 2 seconds? That's exactly the feature that I wanted to add right now. Any other question before I answer that by showing you another feature? Can we have a source code? Not a problem. I can make sure the guys receive the zip file with the whole code of what we did today. You're welcome. Any other question before we add a little cool feature? So like Miriam said, and I want to show that she's completely right, let's not wait the 2 seconds. And ooh, he doesn't know how to handle it anymore. He's going completely nuts because of the set timeout function. So what is that set timeout function? The set timeout function basically tells him everything that's inside that function, do it after 2 seconds. The problem is it keeps on doing the rest. So if I click again, it will do the logic the rest. So I want to prevent that. So what I want to do is I want to tell him, you know what? When I have a set timeout, I want my game to be paused, which means I want my logic to not work when I'm in those 2 seconds. I don't want him to be able to do anything else while I am in those 2 seconds. So because the whole logic of my game is inside the memory game.show function, I'm going to add that my whole function only works if I am not in memory game dot posed. So my game is not posed, the whole function. I also want to give it a default value at the beginning. So I need it to be posed at the beginning. And then right before my set timeout function, here inside my else, right before the set timeout function, I'm going to say my game is now paused. So memory game dot pose is now true. And inside my set timeout function, I'm bringing it back to false. By doing that, I'm ensuring that while he's in set timeout, going to work. So again, I initialized a variable that's called pose that starts at false. So at the beginning, the game is not on pause. My whole logic of the game is inside the function that's now wrapped up and says that the whole function can only work if my game is not paused. And you see, right before my set timeout then, I'm pausing my game. And I'm unpausing it only after the 2 seconds. So it's going to be paused. So if I'm inside the specific case, it's on pause, and it cannot click on anything else. Let's now see the difference. Not working. See? I can't possibly click on another one. It is true that 2 seconds is a lot of time. So I guess I'm just going to switch it back to 1 second. Yay! I found match. 2 seconds is too long. I'm switching it back to 1. Okay, last thing. Just switching it to 1 because I don't really have the patience to wait 2 seconds every time. I just switched to 2,000 milliseconds to 1,000. Okay, the last check. We want to know if he won, right? So remember how we kept track of true choices? Here, if he was winning. Okay. So now I'm just going to add another if after all my if else. So here's my if, here's my else is done. Okay. So if memory game of true choice is equal to actually half of the length of the array, then I'm just going to do console log u1 so we can see it. And I'm just going to do a location reload, which will just reload the page. And we are done. We'll test it in a second. Any questions? I see someone typing, so in the meantime, I will stop showing you guys. Ooh, first match, first pair. That's cool. That almost never happens. Was that here? No. Cool. Up. Well, I'm actually lucky today. Okay, so I know it reloaded super fast, but you can still see my console that I wrote to you on. You need to use JavaScript to do that, or can you use Java? Okay, so Java is not a language. Java is a full stack language. It's front end and back end. JavaScript, the language that you use when you want to add to your HTML some application logic and some functions. So JavaScript. Usually when you're a front-end developer, you use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Any other questions? If you want to display U1, do you do it on a div? So, had I had a little bit more time, but I tried to grab it a little bit, I would have created basically a div that says you win here, because the console log is ugly. And instead of doing a location reload or before, I would all of a sudden show it. It would be in hidden mode, and I would show it. That's a way better way of showing that you won. The info and the ID using, no problem. Any other questions? So I want to tell you guys a little bit about ITC. So we're a bootcamp, and actually I didn't know how to code until I did this bootcamp a little bit, almost a year ago, and we basically teach how to be full stack developers and how to build applications like that, but complete. Here was like the fast version, but then there are so many features you can add. You can add like you can choose the theme, and you can choose how many cards according to levels, and then of course you can, when he won, show a model that will be like, congrats, you won. And had I had time, I would have added also audio that changes when you win and when you lose, and every time you, so many things that you can do. So we teach that at ITC, and we teach you how to be junior web developers really fast. We are based in Israel, and the reason why we're based in Israel is not only because we're Israel Tech Challenge, it's also because Israel right now is a big tech community, and it's only growing, and it's really good for developers. We actually have people from all over the world coming here to learn how to code, and we do have a lot of Americans also. So if you guys have any questions on ITC and would like to know anything about it, what age you have to be join? You don't have to be any specific age. You just have to or have a degree or be on a break of studying a degree. We have students from age 22 to 34, 35. We actually had a high schooler. It's funny, he was 18, but he was like first year of university, and like he took a semester off just to come to do ITC, even though he was learning computer science, because he realized very fast that you can learn computer science for like 4 years, but at the end, you may not be able to do as much as you can by just doing a 4 months, 5 months bootcamp. So he came here as a semester off from his university, and he was really happy about it. Any other questions on ITC? How long is the program? So the program is 3 months of learning how to code, and then 2 months of project in a company. And the purpose of doing that is for people who want to stay in Israel to help them do a job, and also for you guys to be able afterwards to realize, because when you're in a bootcamp and you learn everything very, very intensively, you sometimes don't realize how high your level is. So it also allows you to actually afterwards work with people and interact with real coders and see how actually your level is high after only 3 months of intensive learning, and gives you a lot of self-confidence, even for the ones that actually go back to America or for wherever they are from. What sort of companies does ITC send interns to? A lot of different companies. Sometimes it's small startups, sometimes it's bigger. It depends on the period, it depends on the needs of specific companies at a specific time. Right now, we have our alumni of this cohort that are going to their projects and companies. The thing is, this time, they learn to code for 4 months, and they're going to companies for only 3 weeks. The format is changing for the next bootcamp, because we realized that if we were doing months more intensively, then maybe 2 months in a company would bring more to the table. So I have people going into Click Fraud, which is a company, for instance, that is more of a, that what they do is that they check for, when you have Google AdWords, sometimes you have fake robots that are actually the ones that are clicking on your ads in order to minimize the chances of real customers to get on the website. So it handles that. So they're going to work for them and build their own project for them. We have others that are going in companies like Bus Hunter, which is a company that does design and all the front-end development for many, many big companies, which will allow them also to potentially afterwards find a job for their companies. We also have people, the next format is not going to be like that, but we also have people working on their own project because they came here wanting to do something for their own project. Exactly. We also have partners, PayPal, Checkpoint, Dell, Wix, Cybereason, Outbrain, Microsoft. We have our fellows right now who are also going to go on their projects. Some of them are going to Checkpoint, a few of them. Some PayPal, Intel, hopefully even a few to EY, and lots of different companies. How many days a week? It is 5 days a week, from Sunday to Thursday. And how many hours per day? So classes are usually in the morning from 9:30 to 11:30, 12:30, and then you have exercises. Usually people stay at least until 6, but the more serious ones and the ones who want to get at a high level stay until 9 to 10. And I will say that the more serious you are with the program, the better you'll have to finish it, and the better coder you are. But usually you have team helping you at least until 6 every day, and the campus is open until 9:10. We are based in Tel Aviv, in Rehov Herzl, which is actually right next to Rothschild, where all the startups are right now. That's one of the reasons why ITC is in Herzl. So we can also, part of the program is going to these, yes, there are opportunities for more advanced students, yes. If you already know languages, you also have another program called the Fellows that you can look into, and you also have another program called Interns, which is in the summer, where ITC helps you get an internship in Israel, which is also amazing. I can ask Ren to send you information, Sarah, if you want. Also, you should know that we have like a syllabus, but we have also students, for instance, we're learning Python, and we have students who came in knowing Python, but no Django, for instance. So what we do here is we only do like a quick week of Python, and then we move over to Django. And you know what I mean? Also, we have our way of thinking is that if the student is done and he finished all the basic exercises, we have so much more that we can teach him. So we're just going to give him more material to learn. There's never, basically the purpose is that you're never going to be bored and you will always have something to learn. I mostly told you about the bootcamp because that's the program I work for. I will send the source code to all of you. Thank you to all of you for participating. Pleasure to meet all of you. You're welcome. Nice meeting all of you, and maybe, who knows, we'll meet again soon, maybe at ITC. Bye, girls, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your study. And I will make sure that you get the source code.